What is up, guys? This is Orca Flop, and today I'm coming at you with another video. And today I'm going to be reviewing my hometown race for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, the Camping World 400 at Chicagoland Speedway that took place last night. I'm just going to review the race like I normally do, and also give a bit of details on my experience being at the track. And I guess let's get straight into it. So, before the race, we showed up and parked, got our stuff out and everything like that, and then we kind of just walked around, did some pre-race stuff. I'll tell you what, pre-race is a lot more fun when you're actually at the track than watching on TV, because when you're actually at the track, there's stuff for you to do rather than just listen to Jeff Burton yap about the rivalry between Truex and Kyle Busch. So, pre-race being at the track, there's a lot to do. It's a fun time, and I highly recommend going to the track and doing as much as you can before the race actually starts. Did a lot of stuff, got to run into Camry, bought some stuff. I made the video when I got yesterday and did all that stuff, so you already basically know what I did pre-race, but it's a lot of fun to do when there's actually like drivers that are talking to you and interacting with the fans rather than listening to the broadcasters yap about something that doesn't even matter. So, and then the race finally started with a huge severe thunderstorm that was coming towards the area, but we did get 10 laps in before the thunderstorm came, and Austin Dillon led us to the green with Jimmie Johnson with Kevin Harvick on the outside. We went green. Austin Dillon took the early lead. There was 3 and 4 wide at the very beginning. Kevin Harvick fell back to third as Jimmie actually got to second. Jimmie Johnson took second from Kevin Harvick, and Jimmie Johnson and Austin Dillon had a really good battle, side drafting each other down the straightaway, getting runs off the top and bottom. It was a really hard-fought battle between Jimmie Johnson and Austin Dillon until Jimmie finally took the lead from Austin Dillon, then Harvick passed Dillon, and then Blaney passed Dillon for that third spot. So Austin Dillon fell back to fourth on the initial start. And there was a lot of passing towards the back as well. A lot of good battles for the first 10 laps. And then the thunderstorm hit. We were asked to go below the stands of the track and be as safe as possible. And then we waited for 3.5 hours with this terrible storm that was just consuming the entire track, and it was awful. I don't even know what to say. It was just so bad. At first, it got really windy. It was like 70-mile-an-hour winds at the track, and like there were pit boxes, tarps flying all over the track. And then we were sitting under the grandstands, and as soon as it started raining, it was going through the seats, and it was pouring onto the floor below the grandstand. So we had to stand in a certain area in order to not get soaked on. Plus, some fans were actually hiding in the bathroom so they wouldn't get rained on. So it was very, very crazy, to say the least. So after 3.5 hours, and you add on like 30 minutes of Air Titans drying the track over and over again, the sun slowly came back out, and this race is going to get pushed to a night race, similar to how it did in 2013. And we went back green with Jimmie Johnson leading the field with Kevin Harvick on his outside. We went green. Kevin Harvick took the lead from Jimmie Johnson, and Blaney took second from Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie fell back to third, but remained within the top 5 and remained very consistent throughout the rest of Stage 1. Kevin Harvick was dominating the majority of Stage 1. Kyle Busch on this restart ended up hitting the wall and cutting a tire. He had to go into pits. This would set a sequence of events of Kyle Busch just having an awful race, and I don't think I've ever seen someone at Chicagoland have as bad luck that Kyle Busch did at Chicagoland. So that was absolutely crazy and a sight to see him hit the wall and lose many track position when he probably had a good long-run car. And the runs just continued, and for the majority of Stage 1, Kevin Harvick was dominating. Ryan Blaney was trying to get to Kevin Harvick, but he really couldn't. Kurt Busch and Martin Truex Jr. was making his way up through the field. He seemed to have a pretty fast car in the early runs. So did Kurt Busch, but Kurt Busch ended up falling back because I think he was not able to manage his tires. I also forgot to mention that before we went green, there were pit stops that were made, and Chase Elliott had a I guess, a pit gun issue. I thought it was a jack issue when I was in the stands. I didn't know what was wrong. I thought they may have dropped the jack too early or something. But I guess it was a pit gun issue, so Chase Elliott had early pit stop problems, so that was very unfortunate for him. Luckily, he was rebounding his positions through the majority of Stage 1, trying to get back up into the top 5 and in contention for the stage win. Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski were very fast throughout Stage 1. They were making their way up. It seemed like the Gibbs Toyotas had decent pace because Erik Jones was making his way through the field. I think William Byron had to start in the rear due to something happened in qualifying with him, so he had to start in the rear. Byron made his way up into the top 15 very quickly. I think that's a common theme throughout the race that I'll get to later. For the majority of Stage 1, the pit cycle happened. Kevin Harvick went into pit, and Denny Hamlin and Keselowski ended up staying out for a majority of the time, and that would end up working out for them, as Denny Hamlin ended up winning Stage 1 due to staying out, and the caution was brought out with 2 to go in Stage 1 because Clint Bowyer ended up blowing a tire in Turn 3 and spinning through the grass. It seems like a lot of the Stewart-Haas cars didn't have the pace except for Harvick. Like, Almirola was in the top 15, but he didn't have pace. Bowyer was downright awful, and Suarez had bad luck. He was making his way through the top 15 in Stage 1. But Bowyer ended up blowing a tire and spinning out, and around this time it was an unrelated incident, but Kyle Busch also blew a tire and had to go into pit road. So a lot of blown tires, but I think that's because of the sheer fact that Chicagoland is becoming a very worn racetrack. It's in its prime health, pretty much, since they haven't repaved the surface since it was built in 2001. Denny Hamlin and Keselowski stayed out. Hamlin won Stage 1 with Keselowski finishing second. Harvick got third. I believe, and Blaney got second, or I got fourth. Brian Blaney, I think, and then we go to the pit cycle. Ryan Blaney, I think, had an issue. I don't remember if he got penalized or not, but I think there was an issue with Ryan Blaney that caused him to fall back a lot, because, Stage 1 was the only part in the race where Blaney was really fast, and he just seemed to fall back. I don't know what happened. Maybe someone in the comments could let me know what happened to Ryan Blaney, but the pit strategy just totally fell off the roof. He was running 16th to 14th the rest of the race until, Knight he had some pace, but that's because Truex and Kurt were falling off a cliff. But I don't know what happened to Ryan Blaney. Maybe someone can let me know that in the comments section. We went green for Stage 2. Denny Hamlin and Keselowski, I believe, were on the front. No, it was 2 big contenders were coming through the field as they made their way into the top 5. Kyle Larson and Alex Bowman seemed to gain a lot of pace in the middle, and they seemed to gain a lot of pace in the middle of Stage 1, and they showed it by making their way up towards the front towards the end of Stage 1. So we go green for Stage 2. I believe Hamlin and Keselowski pit after Hamlin won Stage 1, so they had to go get a new tire. So Harvick led us to the green with Jimmy Johnson on the outside. We went green, and Kevin Harvick led us to the green in Stage 2 and put on a dominating fashion for the majority of Stage 2, as I think Clint Bowyer spun out through the middle of Stage 2, but they did not. I remember something happened with Clint Bowyer, and he was going down the backstretch. I don't remember if he spun out or not, but he was on the backstretch. Something happened, and NASCAR did not throw the yellow whatsoever. And throughout the majority of Stage 2, Chase Elliott made his way up to third after having those pit stop issues very early on in the race. He made his way up to third, and he was starting to battle with Jimmy Johnson for that second spot in the middle of Stage 2. And then Kyle Larson and Alex Bowman, who was riding around that top side and was really fast in Stage 2. Larson and Bowman were... it was a 4-car battle for second. It was great. You had Chase Elliott going after Jimmy Johnson. You had Larson and Bowman battling each other. And then all 4 of them were together battling for each other. It was amazing. And then Kevin Harvick slowly got closed in by Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson nearly was able to make a move on him, but just couldn't make that top stick. And Harvick just ended up pulling away and kind of cruising. And then the 77 had a mechanical failure that brought out the caution again. And then some penalties happened, in which Denny Hamlin, I think, got penalized for too fast exiting. I think Suarez got an uncontrolled tire penalty, I believe. But I know they got 2 penalties, so they had to go to the back. We went green again for Stage 2, and we again had this battle for second with Jimmy and Chase Elliott and Larson and Bowman. There was an outstanding battle. And in the end, but they could not catch Harvick. Harvick was untouchable in stage 2, and Harvick ended up winning stage 2 with Jimmy Johnson, or with Chase Elliott finishing second, Jimmy Johnson third, Kyle Larson fourth, and Bowman fifth. That's how that giant battle for second turned out. That was really fun to watch. There's so many lines to choose from at Chicagoland. You have the top, the middle, the bottom, and it felt like each driver was able to stick a different line. Jimmy was on the bottom at one point, and Chase was on the top. Larson was on the top. Bowman was on the bottom. It was great. Great racing overall for that second spot in stage 2. And then towards the end of stage 2, Hamlin was racing Suarez for position, and then Denny Hamlin hit Suarez's corner panel and caused Suarez to cut a tire, so Suarez had to go into pit road. And Denny Hamlin got damage to the left front, or the right front. So that unfortunately cost Denny Hamlin a lot of time, as well as Daniel Suarez. And once again, I think in the middle of stage 2, Kyle Busch had more tire issues. And I think at this point, this was when his cockpit started to build up. So again, the sequence of unfortunate events for Kyle Busch. Kurt Busch would have been in that large battle for second, but I think Kurt Busch had either an adjustment issue or he couldn't manage his tires. Same with Martin Truex Jr. Both Truex and Kurt were not able to really find long run pace. They were really good on the restarts and the short runs, though. So that's all they really had going for them. And stage 3 was very eventful as we went green for stage 3. Harvick led us to the green after leading stage 2, and at this point, Larson and Bowman got good pit stops and got to the front. And Kyle Larson took the lead with Alex Bowman moving his way up to second. And it got really good from here on out as they were 3 and 4 wide down the straightaways and turns. And then Logano, who is slowly making his way up through this course of the run, tried to make a move on Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch moved him down towards the bottom of the track. And then Logano body slammed Kyle Busch up the track and caused Kyle Busch to cut a tire. So once again, another unfortunate event for Kyle Busch. And then while this was happening, Alex Bowman, who has undoubtedly was the fastest Hendrick car in this race, took the lead from Kyle Larson. And as soon as Bowman took the lead from Larson, Harvick tried to run the top, and Harvick ended up understeering and hitting the wall. That brought out the yellow, which I don't know why it did. I didn't think that was a big of an issue, but either way, it was a crazy restart with many things going on, and Harvick ended up hitting the wall. Very disappointing end for Kevin Harvick, as Harvick had undoubtedly one of the most fastest cars at the track, probably the fastest Stewart-Haas car. It seems like Almirola couldn't find speed, Suarez had a bunch of tire issues, and then so did Clint Bowyer. So Harvick was very dominant. I feel so sorry for the Kevin Harvick fans, because Harvick led the majority of the race. Even though he didn't win stage 1, he probably should. He probably would have had Hamlin and Keselowski not pulled that pit strategy. And Harvick won stage 2, and Harvick was just the dominant car for the majority of the race, and they hit the wall, and it also ended up costing him all that dominance and time that he had going for him in the beginning. So at this point, it was Chevy dominance. I kid you not. Chevy was dominating at this point in stage 3, and we went green again after Harvick hit the wall, and Bowman shot away. Bowman and Larson shot away. They were 1-2 the majority of stage 3. Logano found his way up to third, and then Kyle Busch ended up making some contact with Eric Jones in turn 4. That almost made Kyle Busch go around, but Kyle Busch, is being the talented driver that we know, he was able to save the car and was able to put it in position to at least get a top 20. But we know how that story went. But the majority of stage 3, I'll be honest, it was kind of uneventful. Truex and Kurt Busch were falling like rocks until the pit cycle happened. Kurt gained 1 spot in Eric Almirola, but that was because Eric Almirola probably had less pace than Kurt Busch. And this is the longest run of the race I think we had. Truex was falling back. Brad Keselowski, I was watching him in person. I can't believe no one's talking about him. Brad Keselowski, he didn't really have that fast of a car through the majority of the race, but in stage 3, man, he got right up on that wall, and he just, in person, he was motoring that car. He got by Stenhouse, because Stenhouse I think pulled some pitch strategy as well and was able to get up front. He whipped around Almirola like it was nothing. He whipped around Truex and Kurt. Brad Keselowski was on a fucking tear, and he was gaining on Jimmy Johnson towards the end of Stage 3, and no one was really talking about it, but Keselowski, he found something in that car. I don't know. It seems like Penske at these mile and a half, especially when you get into the night transitions, it seems like Penske can find some real speed and has the ability to close when they need to. And that's what Keselowski was trying to show. He was very fast riding right around that wall. But while that was going on, Alex Bowman was the story right now. Hendrick was the story. Hendrick looked phenomenal. By the way, I forgot to mention, in the middle of Stage 2, I believe, William Byron, after starting the rear, he drove up to Kevin Harvick and took the lead for a portion until that caution for the 77 came out. William Byron took the lead from Kevin Harvick just on raw speed, but then Byron ended up not being able to close out on restart, so he was falling back. But Alex Bowman, by far, was the fastest car on track at this point, and he was showing his dominance. And Bowman was led pretty much lap after lap. It was Bowman getting faster and faster. And then when that pit cycle happened, Larson jumped up to the top, and I felt like Logano was faster than Larson for a bit as Logano started to close on to Kyle Larson for a while. But then Larson jumped to that top, rode around it, and he was gaining on Bowman ever so slightly. And the last 10 laps, Larson got right onto Bowman, and he whipped around Bowman he dove to the bottom, and I guess slide job, as I guess everyone was saying on NBC, they wouldn't shut up about. Larson ended up getting so fast late in the run that he passed Bowman on the inside, but Alex Bowman was not done yet. He drove his ass off. He held the bottom better than Larson did in 3 and 4. Got a run on the front stretch, and then in 1 and 2, Larson ran the top to try to get the run off the wall. But then Bowman drove it in there and got sideways off of 1 and 2. Was able to, he made contact with Larson, bumping him on the side drafting, and then taking the lead on the bottom while Larson tried to run the top. And Bowman got the lead back from Larson after having objectively the slower car. That was outstanding to watch. It was very fun to see in person. Me and Dade were on the edge of our seats watching that, and we were going nuts as Bowman took the lead back from Larson, and Bowman, the showman, closed the deal, and Alex Bowman got his first career win. Wow, that was awesome. Bowman gets his first career win at Chicagoland. Hendrick Motorsports' second win of the year. And Bowman did his beautiful burnouts. Dade and I were actually up close to Bowman when he was doing his burnouts. And we got to see him whip around and just doing those burnouts for his first career win. He ended up getting stuck in the grass, so he had to get pushed out. So that was kind of funny. But he continued to, that was amazing. And you could tell Alex Bowman in his interview on the track when he was in the grass, he was very emotional about it because, as we've known, a lot of people have been doubting Alex Bowman. He was supposed to replace Dale Jr. He made the playoffs to the round of 12 in 2018, but I feel like people like myself were kind of ignoring Alex Bowman because I didn't think there was... he's talented. I definitely think Alex Bowman's a talented driver. I just didn't really see much out of him through 2018 and the majority of this season until I'd say Kansas, when he was really fast and finished second to Brad Keselowski. That's when I was thinking Bowman could be a contender, and he looked very lightning fast towards the end there, and he got his first career win at Chicagoland. Let's go. It's just amazing to see him win his first race in person. That was a sight to behold. I was cheering, and so was Dade. Me and the majority of the fans were all happy, and it was a great, happy time at Chicagoland Speedway to be in person, to watch Alex Bowman get his first career win in person. Second win for Chevy this season. Both of them were Hendrick. I don't know, man. So again, Bowman went to victory lane, celebrated, first career win for Alex Bowman. This is the first time I think we have a first-time winner in the Cup Series. It's similar to Eric Jones in a way, because Eric Jones won it in his sophomore year. He got his first career win at Daytona last year in his sophomore year, and then Bowman gets his first career win in his sophomore year. So I find that pretty interesting. So Alex Bowman won at Chicagoland Speedway. The results are Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson 2 years in a row finished second at Chicagoland Speedway. Definitely, I think this time Larson definitely outperformed Kurt Busch, but that's because Chicagoland Speedway definitely suits Kyle Larson's style. Joey Logano finished third. He was kind of irrelevant through the majority of the race, but ended up coming back, getting the night set up, and figuring it out. So Logano got third. Jimmie Johnson fourth. Again, Hendrick looks phenomenal this race. Ran top 5 the entire race. Jimmie Johnson did, had a very good run. Kevin Meendering made the right calls, it seemed like, for Jimmie Johnson, and he ran phenomenal. Fifth was Brad Keselowski. Again, no one's talking about Keselowski for some reason because he was right against that wall and he found a lot of speed. I think if he was just a bit closer to Jimmie, he would have taken that fourth. I believe sixth on back, I do not exactly remember. I do know that Kurt Busch and Truex were not able to find that long run speed and they fell back a lot of positions. I believe Truex finished 9th and Kurt finished 13th. So not exactly a great run for them, but in the end, Bowman got his first career win. And I'm really happy for Alex Bowman. I think overall, let me give my thoughts on the race. I think this aero package once again proved. I think that thunderstorm, in a way, saved the race because it was supposed to be hot and slick. As I think we've seen, this aero package doesn't work. It's greatest when it's hot and slick. It works better when it's cooler and darker. Like a night race, that's why Kansas and the Coke 600 was so good, and that's why this race was probably so great. But I think it's also because of Chicagoland Speedway being one of the best mile and a halves. I think it really hurt Chicagoland when they moved it to September because at the time that aero package didn't work when it was cooler. It worked better when it was hot and slick. So I think that factored into it, and I think that's why Chicagoland got a reputation for not being that great. But you go back to like 2010 and back, there was some pretty good races and good battles. And Chicagoland, I think, is one of the most underrated tracks on the NASCAR schedule, and I think it deserves a second date. From now, we go back-to-back races in the summer, and we have great races. You had the battle between Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson last year, the slide job, that Dale Jr. famously called. And then you go to this year, you had that great battle in the last 10 laps between Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson. That had me on the edge of my seats. And then Bowman got his first career win, and then Alex Bowman gets his first career win. That's amazing. I don't know about you, but I think Chicagoland is definitely a track that I think NASCAR should keep on the schedule because this track is low-key one of the best tracks on the schedule. It's kind of why I'm wearing the shirt to represent it. Yeah. The race was fantastic. I give this race a solid 9.5 out of 10. The race was great. It did have its boring segments like in the middle of Stage 3 and maybe early Stage 2, but that was about it. Other than that, there was battles throughout the track. There was good racing. You had lines to pick and choose from. Even though they were flat-footing it through the most part, I still think there was a way that the drivers were able to present the talent that they have inside of them, and I think that is something that's positive for NASCAR, and it's what the fans have wanted for the longest time, and I think that's what NASCAR needs right now. They need the drivers to be able to show their talent and do it. And I think that's what they did last night at Chicagoland Speedway. And Alex Bowman, I think, definitely proved that he belongs in that 88 car now that he's beat Kyle Larson straight up in a race at a mile and a half. So congratulations to Alex Bowman and getting his first career win. That was awesome to see in person. Now Alex Bowman is locked into the playoffs along with his teammate Chase Elliott. And that's 2 Hendrick cars now locked into the playoffs. And I think at this point, it's safe to say that Chevy is back. You look at these past mile and a half races. You go back to Texas this year, Jimmie Johnson getting the pole, Jimmie Johnson winning the Clash, Chase Elliott winning at Talladega. I know those are plate tracks, but still, you look at all these races. Byron has won a couple poles, I think, the Coke 600 as well. They look to have the pace that they used to have in the 2000s. Jimmie Johnson put a very consistent result, and then Bowman was lightning fast towards the end there and got his first career win with Chevy and Hendrick. So I think now Hendrick has established themselves and has kind of recouped to be what they once were. I don't think they're exactly there yet, but they are ridiculously close. I do think it's safe to say that Chevy is back because these last, I'd say, 10 races, Chevy has been proving to be competitive again, even with Ganassi. Chevy is definitely back, and I think Hendrick, if they can keep what they have right now and stay consistent at these mile-and-a-half tracks, that could make them maybe a future championship contender, or Chevy in general. So I definitely think it's safe to say that Hendrick and Chevy as a whole is back. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they can keep up this momentum that they have had throughout the majority of the season. So without further ado, congratulations to Alex Bowman on winning his first career race. That was awesome to see in person. Wow. It just, it's crazy. I'm kind of speechless right now. I'm kind of thinking about when I was at the track and I saw Alex Bowman win in person. That was just amazing. I give this race a solid 9.5 out of 10. It was amazing. Going to the race in person is always better than watching on TV. You actually get a good grip on the experience, and the smell of the octane fuel is amazing. So I love going to Chicagoland Speedway. It's one of my favorite events of the year, and it's my favorite track in NASCAR. So next to Bristol, I'd say. But Chicagoland deserves a second date. Underrated track. I think it's proven back-to-back years that this track is really good. So again, 9.5 out of 10 race. Congratulations to Alex Bowman and Hendrick Motorsports and Chevy for getting their second win this season, and Alex Bowman for getting his first career win. That was amazing. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.